Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Devils trailed the Lightning 5-1. Brutal game. Team looked pretty much out of sync the whole night. Jacob Markstrom, not his finest night. We will dive into all that, but I can't do any of that until I know and I have confirmation from you, the people, that we are live. Thank you so much for tuning in to us here on Speaking of the Devils. I know that it's never really fun whenever your team loses, but I'm glad that you guys are joining us either nevertheless. So please come talk about it live and somebody confirm. Okay, Zach Chin says we are sadly live. Yeah, I don't blame you. That's the sentiment tonight. I guess we can watch the rest of this game together. I'm gonna have it up here on one of the tabs here on my monitor right here, which is right below. So forgive me if I'm looking down at all during the stream, and if I get ADHD distracted. But I'll kind of be like half tuning in because it's just this is a mess. Let's start with the obvious one. We like to do a little big picture takeaways off the top every time. We do go live after every game. So if you're not subscribed yet, please join us. Subscribe, share the link with your friends because we do this after every single Devils game. But again, like I said, we like to start with big picture takeaways, and I think the one of the only big picture takeaways I have tonight, like I guess we'll start with just the obvious. Like I think the team looked out of sync tonight, right? Like last game you had Jack, everybody responding in the face of the Jack Hughes injury, which was nice to see, and the team gets good and grinds it out against a Capitals team that doesn't have a good record, but I think is a little bit better than they play better than their record shows. They gut it out. They have a good first two periods, and then they are on their heels in the third, and they fortunately for them, do grind out a win. Tonight is when the dam burst, though. I don't think that they played bad the first two periods necessarily, but that third is definitely where things started to crumble a little bit. And then when they started to tilt the ice, even at the end of that second, the other big takeaway that I have to talk about kind of ruined all momentum, and that's Jacob Markstrom. Let's start with a couple stats here on Markstrom. Per Todd Cordell, Jacob Markstrom has given up at least 3 goals in his last in 7 of his last 8 starts this season. At one point, it was 3 goals on 11 shots tonight. And then my friend Garrett, it's at Garrett NJD, at Garrett underscore NJD 30 on Twitter, points out that if you throw out the Blue Jackets game, which is when he replaced Allen, Jacob Markstrom's goals allowed by game this season is 5-3-8-1-3-3-3-5. And that 5 is still in progress, as we know. If anything crazy happens in the game, let me know in the comments, and I will go and check it out. But I'm kind of just half on here, half on the StreamYard thing here, so we're kind of half tuning in. Look, I don't know that any of those early goals were his fault in a huge way. But elite goalies are supposed to make supposed to make big saves after big mistakes. They signed Jacob Markstrom to a Vezina level AAV, and they expected him to make Vezina level saves. He's not doing that. He hasn't done that at all this season. Besides that Los Angeles Kings game, which was the first game after he got paid. Okay, great. That sets the tone great, and you want that to, kind of, set the tone going forward. And it's like, okay, good. Like Jacob Markstrom's going to turn it around. It was just the pressure of having, not having a contract in hand. Apparently not, because things have been all downhill since then. Again, I'll just read those numbers again. Since that game, goals allowed per game, 3, 3, 3, 5, and there's still 5 minutes to go in this sucker. Not good. He's had a 900 save percentage or better once this season. By my count, he's had about 4 good periods this season. The rest complete duds. Look, I think the worst part about all this on the Markstrom front, and I will concede that maybe he does, at some point pick it up and plays like the hot goaltender that he can be at times. But I think the worst part is that I don't know how much more expensive it would have been if he just waited a couple months. And I'm kind of taking this talking point for Twitter. I saw somebody tweet about it. I don't know who you are, but shout out to you because it's a good point. Fitzgerald should have just waited, okay? And the fact that they announced this extension at the time that they did, when things actually looked even worse before that one good game that he had this season, it's just a head scratcher, right? Wait it out a little bit. Wait to see if he can put at least a couple half decent games here and there. Because right now it is just not good. His game is not aging well this season. Again, beyond 3 good periods this year, 4 good periods this year. It's been a mess for Jacob Markstrom. So that's really the only one of the only big takeaways I have from tonight. I mean, I guess we can also get into the pregame notes. Connor Brown, Evgeny Dodonov, Brendan Dillon, and Dougie Hamilton all played tonight. So a lot of the injuries, injury luck seems to be trending in the positive direction for the Devils, I guess, right now. Kind of a shock to see Evgeny Dodonov come back into this one. He was out for a while, and Keith just the other day, said that he's still going to be out for a while. Another note, I guess, for Tampa, John Cooper, head coach John Cooper, did not coach for Tampa tonight. Hope things are okay with him. He was out due to personal reasons. But that's pretty much all I have. Again, big picture takeaways. Let's dive into your comments. Zach Chin starts it off by saying, "Happy birthday." Thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate that. I thought the Devils would squeak out a win for my birthday. Doesn't sound like they are. Zach Chin says this team is allergic to defending goal scorers, apparently. Yeah, elite ones, too, at that. Let's kind of break down goal by goal tonight. I have notes for the early ones. I kind of just stopped after a little bit just because things were getting so lopsided. Jake Gensel, the brutal bounce on the Mercer pass at his own blue line. Bad decision and bad turnover there from Mercer. Gensel jumps on it, outraces everyone for the breakaway, rips it from the slot. And Markstrom just kind of shut down there too. That's I guess you give him somewhat of a pass because it's that's a breakaway chance and against a really good goal scorer. But it's come on, man. Again, I'll say it again. As I said off the top, they signed you to Vezina level contract in order for you to make Vezina level saves, and he's not doing that so far. I know the cap is jumping, and I know that contract might look a little better in a couple of years. Come on, man. What are we doing here? Let's see. Next goal was the Kucherov goal. Kucherov somehow, some way went uncovered there. Yeesh. Backhand feed from the to the right circle. Nice one at that. But come on. I know that this was the one that was kind of controversial because it should have been an icing, but it wasn't. But it was also another Luke mistake that led to that goal. It was another Luke mistake that led to the goal. Not strong in the corner. Kind of flails there. And then he got out hustled by Chiarelli. And leads to the easy Tampa goal again. He dishes it to Kucherov right there, uncovered on the right face-off circle. Not great. Need a save from Markstrom there too. The Nico goal, reviewed it for kicking motion. I know there were some people kind of confused about that one, but basically it was because who was it there? I'm trying to look up. It was Mosier that was the last one to touch, so it ends up because it bounced off his glove there. That's the reason that the goal stood. Nico needed that goal. He was struggling a bit offensively of late. And I'll tell you what, too, for a little bit there, I thought this could be a potential momentum changer for this Devils team because they finally got one through after a good stretch where it's where it was putting a lot of pressure on them, tilting the ice towards their end, looked good off the rush. They kind of struggled early on in getting, in kind of the growing pains with Jack Hughes being out because it's Jack is so good at these zone entries that it almost generates off. You almost generate offense and then some, just creating it off that. So I would say the past 5 minutes before then, the Devils were really started to tilt the ice, and then they got one through, and that's great. And then you think the momentum might change around, but evidently it did not. Because Radish gets a goal there in the third period. This is where the floodgates really started open. Kind of trailed there, received the pass from point, and then ripped a slap shot past Markstrom. This was the one that I think of all of them should have. This was the come on, you have to get that goal. You have to get that save there, Markstrom. You have to get this on this one. Just brutal. Devils were finally, again, as I mentioned, they were kind of gaining momentum ever since that Nico goal, and then their goaltender just kind of took it away from them. So this Not good. I understand that the defensive breakdowns tonight and Devils did make a lot of mistakes, and they deserve scrutiny for that as well. But at some point, your goaltender has to make some saves. I just keep riding Allen at this point. Just keep riding Jake Allen. I think that the argument against that is that Allen, he doesn't have the legs that he once did, and he might need a bit of a break there. Um, I'm sorry, man. You're the only goaltender that's given them some consistency this year. Um, I understand that there's uh, some durability issues there, and that's fine. But sorry, just gonna get my drink here. Um, come on, come on, you got to ride Allen. I think at this point because Markstrom has given you nothing. Let's move on. Rick Roma says, "Wow, Rick Roma's officially on the fire Fitz train. That Markstrom extension is going to age like fine milk. Get Fitz out of here. I think that's premature. It's just me. I think it's a little premature. Um, but as our friend Killabush always says, this is his big sticking point. I think it's an interesting one. Fitzgerald's job security, according to our friend Killabush, one of the commenters here. This is not according to me. He thinks that his job security should ride on this Jacob Markstrom deal. It should live and die with Jacob Markstrom. That was the big splash, the big game hunt goaltender that Fitzgerald got a couple off seasons ago, and he then gives him this extension to start the year. After, by the way, not a great start to the year, so the timing wise, it wasn't great. And now you have you're in a situation now where it could be, but this could be one of his biggest mistakes. This could be Fitzgerald's biggest mistake. Um, should he have been more comfortable just riding with Nico Dawes and Jake Allen? Maybe, maybe. I gave him a little bit of grace at the time only because I thought to myself, okay, 2 years, at least you got him for 2 years, right? That's going to be fine. You just eat the 2 years, and even if it goes badly, if it goes south in the second year, try to trade him then. It's going south even before the extension kicks in. And it was going south before they even handed out this extension. Jacob Markstrom's not been great at all this year. So, boy, he's got to figure this out. I mean, there's just nothing else to say there. He's got to figure this out. Let's move on. Lou from Peru says, "Happy birthday, Nova." Thank you so much. I can't believe you are months younger than me. Also, this game is a big yikes. It sure is, Lou. Thank you so much for your wishes. I appreciate that. Rick Roma, Markstrom Shucks, also happy birthday. That about sums it up pretty well. Oh, what happened to my light here? Stand by. Stand by, everybody. I got to go fix the light. I think it just unplugged. No, hold on. Everybody, stand by. Hold on. What just happened? Oh, I don't know what just happened to my light. I think my light just broke. Is the lighting still okay? What a mess. What a mess of a stream. See, it's a 5-1 game for all of us right now, including me. Really bad. Dr. Gusev says, "I'm sorry you had to spend your birthday watching Jacob Markstrom attempt to be an NHL caliber goaltender." Yeah, I mean, look, that about sums it up. I mean, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for Markstrom there. Okay, now we're catching up. Happy birthday. Nico says, "Happy birthday. Worst game of the year." Thank you so much, Nico. And Colorado was pretty bad, but at least they put up a fight. This one is I mean, of the two games. Oh, we got a little bit of a scrum here. Of the two games in the post Jack era, this one is definitely of the worst. So you just hope that the Devils so far this year have been so good at squeaking out games and staying hot even with all these injuries this year. You just don't want to see the collapse start to happen as soon as Jack goes down, because that was all the preseason expectations for this team, where they could be really good if Jack Hughes stays healthy. If Jack Hughes stays healthy. Now Jack Hughes is down, and you have to stay a solid team. You just can't give in to these narratives, right? Fitzgerald, I mean, we talk about Fitzgerald job security, and I'm not saying he's on the hot seat or anything, but what I'm saying is this is a time that Fitzgerald has to pivot. This is the time for Fitzgerald to go make that splashy trade to shore up that middle, to shore up that center depth, and to finally push the chips in, right? To finally get the trade that gets them that pushes them over the top, even if Jack Hughes is out of the lineup. You can't just be a Jack Hughes injury away from things crumbling. And I know he's such an incredible player, but yeah, no, you just can't let that happen. Is the game over? I just looked away for a second. I believe it is. The Devils just lost 5-1. They are their record right now is 13-5-1. Not better record than I think a lot of people thought. Given all the injuries and how terrible the injuries luck have been this year, but yeah, not good. Sorry, I'm really distracted right now by this light being out. If everybody could just bear with me for 1 second while I go get my backup light, that would be a very big help. Wish I could play some hold music for you guys. Oh, I think this light's dead too. How's that? Is that a little bit better? Okay, lighting wise, probably a little bit better. What a mess of a stream! What a mess of a game, and what a mess of a stream for me and the Devils tonight. Sue Dayton says, "Why exactly did we extend Markstrom?" That's the $12 million question there. And I'll say this again. At the time, I defended it because I thought, okay, at least they're getting away with this, and it's just the 2-year deal, but it's not looking good so far. The timing was always the big thing on that trade. The timing was always the thing that deserved the most criticism on that trade. He probably shouldn't have just done it anyway. I'm kind of, I'm kind of walking back even my Markstrom take at the time, my take was I was fine with it at the time. But even I'm at this point, I'm out on it because right now the early signs have not looked good, and I concede the fact that yes, things can get better over the next couple weeks, and he can maybe find his game. It's just the early returns haven't been good. And of course, this light just went out too, so I'm just going to take this off. I'm going to fix the light thing in the morning, and we're going to have that ready by the time we have Ken Danico coming on the show tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So I hope you guys will tune into that because that will be a very good time. Moving on. Lou Guberti Ing says, Ryan, I'm hearing on Devil's Twitter that it's illegal to save a 1v1 shot. Can you verify? Can you independently verify? I can independently verify. Tom Fitzjesus says, we are live, the team, not so much. Yeah, this was a dud. I think that the Devils were kind of overdue for a dud at this point. A lot of injuries, obviously, and then you have the unfortunate Jack injury. You knew a dud was coming at some point, but this was just this was an ugly one tonight. Cranman85 says, happy birthday, Novo. How was the DC rooftop bar? I'll tell you what, Cranman. So here's what happened. I'm glad you asked. I appreciate you asking, and I appreciate your birthday wishes. I very much appreciate that. I was gonna go to the Watergate Hotel because I thought that would just be like the peak of journalism. Okay, go into the Watergate Hotel for a couple drinks at the rooftop bar there. But it was closed. It closed at midnight, and I wasn't done until a little bit late. All my work that night. So what I ended up doing instead was I went to a karaoke bar right near my hotel, and it was awesome. I met this gentleman, Taylor, who he recognized me from the Giants Nation Show podcast that I did this summer. So that was really fun. This random dude in DC recognized me, so that was a really good time. So I don't say that braggadociously. I say that because he got me into this. We got in this little private karaoke room with him and his buddies, and that was a great time. We had a good time in DC. Travis says 2 more years of sub 800 goaltending. Woohoo! Look. All I know is that at some point the Markstrom no move clause is really a gut punch in year one because there's 25 teams on it, right? But at some, or is it 20 or 25? I reported this and I don't even remember. But it's above 20. And so what you have to understand with a lot of these no move clauses, especially for goaltenders, is that selectively picked them. It's like they're not going to put the Rangers on there because it's like the Rangers already have a solidified goaltending situation. They're not going to put the Jets on there, so it's basically more actually. So the Devils really will not probably be able to move Markstrom at all that first year. That second year, things get a little bit more doable, especially with the cap going up. But we'll see. I mean, if he keeps playing like this, who is going to want him? The Devils aren't even going to want him. Let's see if he can turn it around. Again, I think that there's still spurts of good goaltending to come from Markstrom. I do believe that because I think that he's gotten off to cold starts before, and he's gone through cold stretches before. But right now it's like there's no signs of optimism at all. There are no signs of optimism at all. Laura Higgins says this is a terrible birthday gift from the Devils to you. It is, yeah. This is usually more wins are more fun for the stream. But I appreciate all you guys being here tonight, but yeah, not a great game to watch tonight. I guess I can close X out of that tab. Rick Roma, Alan Dawes should be the tandem going forward, but sadly we know that's unrealistic. One moment. Sorry, I'm super parched today. A lot of walks today with the pup. I I think that the reason they didn't roll with Dawes is probably, and this is just guessing, is that they knew that yes, like he's shown some signs of great goaltending in the NHL. There's no doubt about that. But it's just it always comes in these weird, kind of precarious circumstances that Dawes always gets called up. Case in point, the big one is the Stadium Series game. Um, so he always gets called up and he does well. He pitched like does amazing the first couple games, and then it always kind of goes south for Dawes. It always kind of goes south for Dawes a little bit after that. And there's a reason that they're willing to place him on waivers early in the season, right? Like if they wanted Dawes on the NHL roster, Dawes would be on the NHL roster. But now they're in a terrible spot where even if Dawes has some NHL potential there, you're kind of stuck with Markstrom for at least 2 years now. If they can get him off in that third, great. But especially if his game doesn't age well, as it hasn't early on this season, it's not good. It's not good, Rick. It's not good. Tyler Seba says Fitz should be embarrassed by that contract. Right now, not good. Right now, the early results about it, the early results on it rather, have been less than stellar to say the least. And I'll tell you what, too, the interesting thing about Markstrom is that his high danger save percentage is usually what keeps him afloat. He's usually so good in that department. This year, it's just I think it's in the 770s. So, let's say goalies with at least 300 played. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I looked this up kind of earlier. He's less than middle of the pack. I would venture to guess. We shall see. I'll double check after the game, after the stream, but we'll see. Steve Woj, my man Steve Woj. I'm gonna get back to you this week, and I'll get that gift we talked about. Says, could this be a circumstance of the extra travel the team voluntarily went through? I think that was done to break things up, Steve. I do agree that at the time I thought maybe that was a bit of a head scratching move. Why would you go back to Newark and if you don't really need to? But I think that they saw it as maybe they just wanted to kind of regroup. They've dealt with a lot of injuries this year, and obviously the Jack injury played into that kind of perfectly because they were able to come back home, get a practice in at home, and regroup after that. It wouldn't shock me if maybe that was part of it, but teams travel all the time. It's we can't really at this point in the season use travel as an excuse. I know they've had a lot of road games and that's fine, but it's like I think the team is just out of sync right now without Jack. I think that first game was good because you have you kind of get an emotional bump from the team, but right now, yeah, things have not been great. Rumham says Markstrom is bad, but you also have to convert on chances. Not going to disagree with you there, Rumham. Especially like that second, like the Devils again, as I mentioned, like they kind of potted it after that, on that Nico goal, but the second period they really started to change their fortune in that regard, and they were really generating a lot of good chances. So at some point those are going to go in. But you want to see this team shore up defensively. You want to see them polish a little bit of these mistakes that they made tonight. Because with Jack out of the lineup, like Jack Hughes is not walking through that door to come save you anymore. At least for the next 30 so games. So you can't you just can't make as many mistakes as you did before. And I thought this too. Look, a lot of these games, the thing that I keep saying is that a lot of these games, the Devils had to grind out, even with Jack Hughes in the lineup, right? So at some point, you might start seeing those results start to flip. Tonight was obviously a blowout, but in these close games that they might get into, which I think they will, I think you'll see a good bounce back game from the Devils against Florida on Thursday. But at some point, I don't know, like you don't want to get blown out. Although I do think they were kind of overdue for a stinker, at least somewhat there. Metalander says Markstrom needs to take naps on his own time. Laura Higgins says stats on Markstrom, please don't. I'm gonna say it to you anyway, Laura, just because you asked. Let's see. Let's go to the regular stats at first. I know that at one point tonight it was 3 goals on 11 shots, which is just terrible. 24 saves on 29 shots, not good. And then the nerd stats tonight. Let's see what they looked like. Saves above expected, almost -2, -1.73. No bueno. No bueno. 1 second. Sorry, just lost my place in the comments. Mikey Mike, I can't stop seeing 2 things. Don't know what you mean there. Is that a glitch in the stream? Did something go wrong with the stream tonight? I don't know. Moving on. Andrew Kalor, Allen should be 1A until proven otherwise. That was always the big thing for me as well. I thought that it should have been one of those things where Markstrom, when he came back from that injury, would have to kind of prove his way back into net. And I guess Allen didn't have like some of the best games there, but I remember that 8-game winning streak, you put Markstrom in, they immediately lose, and you kind of saw that coming. I can't disagree with you there. It should be it should be Allen's net until proven otherwise. It totally should be. And you want to give Markstrom his reps to try to see if he can get out of this funk. But again, like ride the hot hand. And the other thing too, again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is that Allen has kind of proven that he needs to be in that 1B goal a little bit. He just hasn't done that in a couple of years and to be in the 1A. But come on, how can you trust Markstrom at this point? How could you? I mean, with anything aside from seasons past history, he hasn't proven to be trustworthy at all this year. Anthony Rusaniello, says defense has been pretty damn leaky tonight. Sure has, and I think too, a lot of mistakes too, like a lot of the Mercer mistake too that led to the Gensel goal. So that's not even defensive mistakes. It's just bad defense mixed with leaky defensive play mixed with bad mistakes is going to lead to goals against. And also mixed with a goaltender that was paid like a guy that should be getting you saves right now and is not getting you saves right now. Zach Chin, what else can Markstrom do on 4 of those 5 goals? He was 1v1 for 2 of them, and the 2 power plays goals he let in were the results of Gensel being wide open right next to the net. I would agree with you if we were talking about even Allen or something like that or someone like that. But again, this is a goalie you just paid the big bucks, man. I mean, look, they brought the billing on Markstrom coming into his tenure in Jersey, or post-trade coming into Jersey, is that he was supposed to be the big game hunt. That was Tom Fitzgerald's big summer project that he solved, and he landed on Jacob Markstrom. Okay, the results have been less than stellar beyond the playoff series against Carolina, which they still lost. So, and that's not on him. I'm not going to disagree with you there, but it's also like that's what, 5 or 6 games. So it's like it's kind of inexcusable. I mean, you need better play from your goaltender that you just paid 2 years, $12 million. Moving on, Michael Quinn. Happy birthday, Nova. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. And thank you for tuning in. Andrew Kalor, Chalowski has to go. Look, the blue line's already gotten a lot more healthy thanks to the return of Dougie. Hopefully, when Brett Pesce gets back in this lineup, hopefully that they can stop playing the Chalowskis of the world because it has not been good so far. I want off the Dennis Chalowski ride. Um, Mikey Mike Markstrom is completely unplayable, just awful. There's no way around it. Um, and two, Luke is just a liability 7 out of 10 times, just completely careless with the puck and consistently out of position. I don't know. Yeah, you saw that on I think it was the Kucherov goal. Chiarelli completely out hustled him to the point. I mean, we was like, Luke is in the corner there, and he's almost like flailing a little bit. Um, Bungled that, had a bunch of bad giveaways lately, and I'll give Luke his credit. Like I think that he got the goal the other night, and I think offensively he's actually been solid lately. Of late, like he's been able to kind of wire the puck through traffic a little bit better than he has in the beginning of the season, because that's just been one of the worst things for him this season. A very concerning trend. He's got a lot of shots on goal of late. Tonight, I thought you saw some of that. Some of those deflections start to creep into play a little bit more. But the mistakes have just been brutal for him. And just giving the puck away, that's leading to goals. The mistake he had tonight again on the Kucherov goal, it has not been good. Travis says they signed Markstrom because he touted a top save percentage against high danger chances. They didn't tell us he would let in beach balls from behind the net. Yeah, and again, I mentioned this too. The high danger save percentage, from what I understand, it's actually like kind of dipping of late. I think he's 772. I'm going to look this up on Natural Stat Trick right now, just so I'm not giving you false information. Let's go to all strengths goalies with at least, we'll say 200 minutes played. Okay, Markstrom is 56th in the league of 56 of 66 goaltenders in high danger save percentage, and I don't think that accounts for tonight. But I can't. Oh no, that does account for tonight. So his high danger save percentage is a 7.61. That is not good. Jake Allen. Now I will say, in fairness, Jake Allen is one step above him in the rankings. His is 7.65, which is good. But for Markstrom, that's supposed to be his thing. That's supposed to be what again, as Travis mentions here so eloquently, that's what they brought you in for, to make to make those ice tilting saves. So yeah, Laura Hagan says time to break out the Tums. As a frequent Tum user, yes. But yeah, especially for the stress, it's like the stomach ulcers. Andrew Kalor, getting guys back is awesome, but chemistry now will take some time. That's another good point. I mean, you saw, like, again, I one of my big takeaways off the top was that a little out of sync tonight, and that was noticeable. Just inconsistent off the top, and then, all these guys were game time decisions. So yeah, you're gonna see that the team is gonna gel a little bit more as they get these guys back in. Dadanov, a guy that they've only played one game with, and even that was just like a period or two. It's gonna take some time, but I think the Devils will be able to stay afloat. I've just seen this team be so mature this year, and Sheldon Keefe make so many great adjustments this year, that I think that they're gonna be able to survive without Markstrom. Without Jack Hughes more than they will in years past. But tonight's example was not a good was definitely not the best showing from them. Guys, that's gonna do it for tonight. I'm gonna cut the stream a little bit early, just because it's my birthday and I could do what I want. I just minimized myself. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. I will see you guys after next game. We're going to go live right after the Florida Panthers game. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share our link. And thank you. Oh, and also, I'm actually going to see you live tomorrow, 10 a.m. Ken Danico is coming on the program. Come ask Dano any question you want. I will take your questions at the end. But until then, everybody, have a great day.